Welcome to the channel, and please be free to speak whatever you like about your spiritual journey.
All right. That's going to be a long conversation. Uh, well, basically, the way it started, I think it was 2017, and I was on my way to the office, and I was at the point in my life where I was earning a lot of money. I had everything that materially one thought they will need. I also had a beautiful family, but I had this deep sense of disconnect and unfulfillment. And I didn't really know what was going on within me. I thought maybe it was like a midlife crisis, even though it was a bit too early for that. And that day, I remember a friend of mine actually sent me a link to the YouTube to listen to this person. And I just was thinking to myself, please, not another self-help. Like, I don't need any self-help. And I clicked on that YouTube video because I was utterly bored, stuck in traffic. And that turned out to be Dr. Joe Dispenza. Have you heard of Dr. Joe Dispenza, by the way?
Yes, I did.
Yeah. So that's how the whole thing started. And that's, I mean, I don't know if you know his story, but basically in the podcast, he was sharing how he broke his back. He was still told he'll never walk again. And in a few weeks, he pretty much healed himself. And then he was back to training. And something what he was sharing, it just created this, not even created, but it like recalled like a deeply suppressed memory, like the truth, something I've always known, but I didn't dare to believe about myself. And I remember I got to the office and I've downloaded all his books, his podcasts, his and meditations. And that night I said, right, I've got to learn to meditate. So then when he came to UK a few months later, I went to his advanced workshop. It was in UK in Brighton. And yeah, that was basically the start of my journey.
So, similar to Joy Dispenza, do you have heard about Eckhart Tolle, A Course in
Yeah.
Miracles? Yes.
Well, I mean, I've studied Course in Miracles for 2 years. Actually, one of my teachers was Aaron Apke. I don't know if you've heard of Aaron Apke.
Yes. What do you think about the course? It's difficult for beginners, yes?
I think the course requires a translator, I mean, unless you really come from this, even maybe like not even, religious background. I don't even know, but it's like for me, to read this book on your own, I found it really tricky. That's why I was, part of the group studying it for 2 years. But interesting thing about the course is whoever, and I know it because, I mean, obviously I've made a lot of contacts, whoever picks it up, it's like the life starts falling apart. I don't know if you had that experience.
Yes, it's
But you
the
almost
ego
look at this
death.
book.
The ego death.
It's the ego death, exactly. And what is interesting, I've never heard of the book. All I know, I mean, I was following Aaron Apke for a little while then, and I never heard of the book. But when he mentioned it, I was like, I need the book. I don't know why I needed it. And literally on the last day, they were closing doors to join them. It's like a year-long membership. I was like, I've got to be part of it. And a few months later, I understood why I did that. At that time, like, I mean, I'm not religious. I don't talk about Holy Spirit or Jesus. Like, none of that made sense. And as the time went by, I was like, that's why I joined this. Yeah.
So, what motivated you to go to the book? Do you have a past depression? Do you have a serious depression
Yeah.
before?
Yeah. So an event happened in my life. Well, it was happening while, I mean, it wasn't, something. I'm not going to go into the details, but it was triggering something within me. And at that time, I didn't even know what it was, but it was beginning of the ego death, of the dark night of the soul, except it wasn't a night. It took years and it's still, I'm still navigating. I just got more tools and I'm learning how to move my emotions, how to work with them. But that was the start of it. And everything that I have been suppressing my entire life, all the doubts, insecurities, something when you live on a surface level, you feel the surface level emotions, that you're not really being true to yourself, but you don't really understand why you're behaving, why you're doing this. It's like all on autopilot. And that's because we've suppressed so much from our childhood. And now everything I've suppressed literally came up to the surface. And I thought that I needed to go like to some kind of like a psychiatric hospital. So that book was literally life-saver, and the community was a lifesaver for me.
But what do you think that the lack of the psychiatrists luck in this day and age? Do you think most people that follow the spiritual path are always complaining about the conventional psychiatrics, the conventional psychology just is not enough. It's not enough.
Yeah, I think it can certainly help, because like, let's say we need to talk this out, like, you need a friend or a mentor or someone you can kind of speak this out, because otherwise, if you're just by yourself, you literally think you're going nuts. But at the end of the day, it's much deeper than this, because when we're speaking it out, we're only working on a conscious level. And as we know, conscious is we're only really conscious, right? Like 5% of our time. Everything else runs very unconsciously, subconsciously. Everything we've learned, experienced, everything subconscious, our mind is responsible for most of our thoughts, activities, and emotions. So, like Carl Jung said, unless you make subconscious conscious, it will run your life, and you will call it fate. So that's where, in my opinion, psychology doesn't go deep enough, because we need to heal all of the traumas, all of the wounds that are deeply stored in our psyche, in our subconscious. And for that, just talking through that isn't enough.
But in your opinion, why Carl Jung is not so well understood as other psychologists?
Well, he was more than a psychologist, right? He went against the grain.
Yes.
Right. And I mean, if you look at now, we've got mainstream science and we've got this alternative science. And a lot of mainstream scientists, they turn to alternative, like Bruce Lipton is a good example, Dr. Joe Dispenza, so many of them, so why are they not as well known as some mainstream scientists? Because most of the people are conditioned to believe and trust what is real, the tangible, the proof. They need logic, they need data. And it's really hard to trust into something that you can't see. So like Carl Jung talks about the inner child, about the shadow, about integrating. But it's much easier to say, well, that person is a narcissist, rather than, hang on a second, that person triggered something within me. It's actually my shadow. I haven't integrated, right?
Exactly.
Not
It's a
many
mirror.
people think
It's a
like
mirror.
that.
It's like a mirror.
So we're walking around like with all of these thorns, and as soon as somebody touches the thorn, we're like, narcissist. Something is wrong with the person. They're doing this to me. In the meantime, they're not doing anything. They're just like pointing, and we just getting triggered because we haven't owned our emotions. We haven't taken accountability. So, and it's a lot harder. It's a lot harder to do.
And you practice every day? The Course in Miracles, do you practice every day?
So
the lessons?
I stopped that about a year ago. I got to the point where I literally felt like everything in my life was falling apart. And I know it's ridiculous. It's like a book, but I'm not the only one who said it. So I felt like it was enough. But I came across Kabbalah, and I've absolutely fell in love with Kabbalah. And literally every single, so when it started happening to me about 2.5 years ago,
Okay.
purifying my energy, about frequency, about the purpose, there's so many things that I wasn't even aware at that time. It didn't even make logical sense. And now when I started digging into Kabbalah, I was like, that is information was coming through to me. This is the question I was asking, and this is question being answered. And what I also found is that, I'm also part of the group, I've got teachers, and that I didn't really need to work so hard. I really tried to understand what is being taught to me, like with Course in Miracles. I literally needed an interpreter. So I'm not that far in with Kabbalah yet. When I look at Zohar, I have no idea what they're talking about. But it's just I've got that like real deep connection with Kabbalah, so I'm more that way now.
You are not. You do you know the Tree of Life, Kabbalah Tree of Life?
Yeah.
And you are starting to study that.
Well, not right now. I'm actually working with 72 names of God. I don't know if you've heard of that.
Yes.
So I bought cards and I bought a book, and it's so interesting how I set an intention, like show me, the card that I need to see, and exactly what comes out. It's still dealing with negativity. It's still, all of that stuff that I'm still kind of purging, I guess, processing. So I'm doing that, and even like I bought a little mini Zohar, like they're called pinchas, I think, pinchas, and I'm just scanning the letters. And what I found, like even when I experience anxiety or any like emotion, just even sitting and just looking at the Aramaic letters, it really like grounds me, it resets me. It's just the logical mind can't understand it, but yeah, that's where I am right now.
But you practice meditation also? Meditations?
Yeah, so I mean, every day, like my morning would normally start with a meditation. What meditation? It depends. Sometimes it's breath work. I like to change things, and then I will do maybe some Kabbalistic prayers like Anabekoa or whatever, or I just scan the book or whatever that is. But and then what I find also, the more I'm kind of working on myself, the less time I really need to set apart for meditation. It almost becomes like part of my daily life. Like as soon as I notice anxiety, I just allow myself to be present to it. Before I would go do breath work, I would do, meditation, maybe listen to podcasts. Now I'm like, I'm experiencing anxiety. Great. Let me be with it. Let me feel it. And yeah, I mean, sometimes my body really gets tired of it. So I'll have a glass of wine just to calm down. I still like my wine. But it's more like just being very present and also paying attention to how things make you feel. So I find I actually meditate less, but it became like part of my life, if that makes sense.
Yes, but you talk about a glass of wine and going.
Yeah, I've got one right here now.
Yes,
Yes.
thank you. Do you believe that most, well, most no, but some part of the spiritual people believe that we need some kind of help to connect to the divine? For example, do you know ayahuasca
Yeah, of course.
from
Yeah.
Brazilian? Yes.
Yeah.
And you try it?
I would love to. I haven't. No.
Okay. So, but you are apology. You agree that it's sometime in your lives it's need some help, some external help to connect to
I
the
think it
divine.
would be easier, right? Because I mean, especially like with ayahuasca, it will help you to open your senses because at this time, I think when the longer you work on yourself, the more you become aware of those two voices, right? The voice of ego and the voice of your soul. And I believe it can maybe just speed up the journey. It can take that anxiety that's, even if it's for a while, because I don't know about you, but for me, it's just put such a big toll on my nervous system. I mean, I literally like can spiral or like this, and of course I'm very much aware of this trigger and I can reset myself a lot faster than what it used to be. But in my opinion, if there's like a tool like ayahuasca or whatever that is that can help you heal the trauma faster, hey, why not? Why not take a shortcut?
Yes, because here most people recite cannabis. You know what is cannabis?
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Because they think they calm down. But my answer, my question is more profound. If you read the book A Course in Miracles, you really don't need anything outside of you. Do you agree?
You get to the stage, but remember, you've got to honor where you are on your
Yes.
journey, right? So I mean, you can't become like Eckhart like this. I mean, he sat on a bench in deep depression for years until he
Exactly.
had enlightenment. And everybody's journey is so unique. Like, I want to be the love and light for everyone, but right now, sometimes I have such massive triggers that will make no sense to anyone. Like, why, a simple thing would literally, and for me, it's fear. It's a lot of the fear that I'm working with. And a simple thing, like I'm not even going to go into details. And I've got to honor where I am right now. And this is what happens, used to happen with me. I will push it away. It's like, I shouldn't be feeling this. I should be further along. Why there's people. And what I've learned over time is how to give myself love and compassion. If I'm experiencing the fear, I'm going to be with that fear. But at some stage, I may need to have something, to help me relieve it, whatever it is. Maybe it's a conversation with a friend. Maybe it's a glass of wine. Maybe whatever that is, right? And just kind of keep on just having so much patience and compassion and realizing that my journey is very different to Eckhart's journey or to Dr. Joe Dispenza's
Yes,
journey.
yes. So everyone else is a different path, on a different path, on a different journey.
Exactly.
So there is no formula. We could say like this. There is no formula.
The only formula, I think, is self-love.
Exactly. Because you can buy a book of Joy Dispenza of Eckhart Tolle, but they are they, and you are you. So it's not comparable. It's not comparable. Things are what they are. So we have to accept ourselves as we are. We have to go to the flow, accept, make acceptance, patience, be very patient. I think I've learned from the few years, be very patient with life, because I was very anxious like you, and the pressure.
It seems to be the norm, isn't it, for everybody? Like I, study through all this well-known, I guess, spiritual leaders. Depression is a common thing.
Yes. Um, but what do you think about because most people that start with this path, sometimes they fall for a trap called the spiritual ego. You know what is the spiritual ego?
Yeah.
The spiritual ego is when you try to pretend to be what you are not. For example, if I buy a book of Joy Dispenza or Eckhart Tolle, I try to mimic and try to pursue, oh, I will be an illuminate soul, or I'll be a. No, you are what you are. You have to accept what you are.
Yeah, but it's by the way, I can't see you. I don't know. I just see like a flower, which is beautiful. But oh, there you go. You're back. It's all part of the journey, I mean, we all go through this stage where we all have spiritual ego. I remember when I came back from Dr. Joe, and I was like, oh my gosh, everybody, you've got to listen about Dr. Joe. You've got to go meditate. You've got to do this. You're going to be a better person. You've got to, and and then as the time goes on, then you meet people who are completely not into meditation, and you kind of, not outwardly but inwardly, you judge them. It's like, but if they meditated, they will be more compassionate. You know what I mean? So I believe it's all part of the journey, unless maybe you like, I don't know, if you've got obviously a very different destiny from most people, you can maybe go from being very grounded into 3D to complete love and peace like that without spiritual ego. That's not me. And even now, I sometimes, like, I also have this, moments of judgments. We all do. And again, it's being okay with it. It's accepting it.
Exactly, it's accept what it is. But
Yeah,
the trick is to be awareness of what is happening. That's the trick. You have
exactly.
to observe the observer. You have to observe the observer yourself, or myself. So it's take a lot of practice, a lot of patience and patience every day. It's like training in a gymnasium, you know, a soul gymnasium. Yeah.
Exactly. It's the most grilling training of all. I mean, I've done so many marathons and ultra marathons, and I always said if I could just run 10 marathons back to back and not have to go through this, I would take that. It's a very different training. And it's, when I first like got into this whole thing 7 years ago, if I knew what I know now, I might have chickened out, to be honest.
So you start your journey 6, 7 years from now,
Well, about 2018, I would
in
say. That's when I,
2018.
yeah, that's when I went to. I mean, I've always kind of been fascinated about things, but I've never really, practiced that. As a child, I was very much into this whole reincarnation, past lives, and all of that. But yeah, then I got completely disconnected, even though I knew that there was something else. I remember like Googling, is there life after death? Have scientists found that there is a life after death? So, I mean, I was always Googling that. But yeah, like real journey started by 2018.
So do you remember the spirit that all we have in the times of the pandemic, 2020 and
Yeah.
2021 and 2022? But I feel that most people now are returning like business as usual. So it's strange that in the such strong conditions, humankind believes and reacts like they are more awareness of the environment, spiritual compassions, and the like. But as soon as the pandemic is over, the people come back to the, well, as normal, regular people. It's like something is missing to bring us together again. What do you think about the pandemic and the effects that they have in the people and the spiritual awakening of most of us?
Yeah, well, firstly, pain always brings people together. I mean, look at World War II, look at all of this like events. When there's an earthquake, everybody rushes because for a
Exactly.
moment they put their egos aside, right? That's their soul, literally speaking. And as soon as everything normalized, it's like back to business because we've been living as our false self for 20, 30, 40 years. And then for a moment, we forgot the false self, like for a few weeks, maybe a few months, but it's not enough because obviously that pattern will overtake us unless we become extremely present with it. So that's what I think happened. But having said that, I also, because I was in a corporate for many years and now I go back to corporate, I speak and I do, certain events, and people are much more aware. They are definitely more open to the topic of spirituality, personal development. When I was there, I've never really heard anybody talk about it. So I've never heard of people like even meditating or doing anything like that. Now there is a lot more interest. So there have been definitely shifts in the right direction.
Okay, so the pandemic, it was at some point of view a good thing to spiritual awakening.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Do you think do we need another one? Okay.
No, well, I mean, the thing is, it's inevitable, right? It's like, when the universe gives you a sign, maybe you get like a painful leg and you still keep on pushing and speeding up. And eventually, like, you'll go, like, do like a little stretch and your knee snap. That's what happened to me, and you can't walk because you're ignoring signs. So I guess depends, like if we keep on ignoring that, if we still keep on reverting back to old habits, who knows, right? And often we actually waiting for this moment of crisis to make a change, right? We
Yes.
don't want to change willingly because it's hard. This change that we're
Yes.
going through is not easy. So why the hell, if you've got a good job, if you've got a stable marriage, you've got everything working, why would you want to change?
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
yeah,
It's the attachment to the 3D world. Yes, the
yeah, to
attachment.
the comfort, to the known, to safe, what we think is safe. It's that attachment, and that's why we live just such a predictable lives. It's like you get a uni degree, you got a job, you retire, and then you die. And that's always terrified me. I always felt like something isn't right with that model. Like it's just not right.
It's like William Shakespeare once said, "We are all acting in a very big play."
Yes, yes,
Exactly. Yeah, we are all actors.
exactly. We are all, I mean, we're all wearing like masks, pretending to be one person there, but
Exactly.
actually internally being very, very different person, And then we talk about authenticity. And I'm like, well, what's being authentic? You being very different people. You one person with your spouse, another with your friends, another person at work. So who are you really? How can you actually integrate all these parts of you into one person and be the same way with everyone? Because it's a lot harder to be who you are not than who you truly are. But yet to be true who you truly are is very, very hard because you go against the conditioning.
Yes,
So
exactly.
it's like a kind of a catch-22.
So, what you do now? You do you practice spiritual coaching? What do you?
Yeah, so I mean, I do a couple of things. I actually have an offline business. We provide companionship and transport to our community. So people who in a wheelchairs, who've got special needs, we take them around. And it's something I've started when I quit my corporate. And then also I speak at events. I train organizations or teams within organizations and also mentor people who want to find a purpose in life.
Okay, so you practice spiritual coaching, more or less.
Spiritual,
Spiritual coaching
spiritual
training.
course.
Yes, you are advisor people to the spiritual path.
I wouldn't call it spiritual because some people like, spiritual is such a broad word, isn't it? For me, it's all about emotions, understanding and working with your
Self
emotions.
knowledge, self knowledge. Yes.
Self-knowledge, yeah, who you are. And as I said, I think, unless we master our emotions, we can never be truly free. So for me, it's all about gaining that emotional independence in life.
Okay. So one last question: what do you think about artificial intelligence? It will free us all. or no?
To be honest, I don't think about it at all. I
It
have a
doesn't
friend.
impact your life now. It does not. It does not have any impact in your life
Well, it
now
only
at the
has
present.
right now as a positive impact because I only use ChatGPT.
Okay.
And that's been a lifesaver for me with all the courses, with the talks I'm doing. It just comes up with words I'd never thought of. That is like as far as my AI knowledge goes. My very good friend, she actually combines like Eckhart Tolle's teachings with AI. So, if you ever speak to her and I can put you guys in touch, I think she can really have an interesting conversation with you about that.
Okay. I would like so.
Awesome. Yeah.
Thank you. So something you want to tell?
Yeah, I mean, just to wrap this up, really, we spend so much time looking outside of us, trying to fix the external things, the external triggers, expecting people to behave the way we want them to behave, to feel more happier, to feel more fulfilled and joyful in life. But that's like almost trying to rearrange chairs on a Titanic and hope for a different outcome.
Exactly.
So I guess my message is like leave the external just even for a little while. It's not going to go anywhere, and just examine your thoughts, your emotions, your actions, your behavior, and start taking radical responsibility for every action and for every reaction in your life, because at the end of the day, you are the one who creates your thoughts. You are the ones that creates your emotions. The others are just triggers. So if
Perfect.
you are the ones who create them, therefore you are the one in control of them, and therefore you are the ones who can change them. It's not other people's responsibility to make you feel happy or to make you feel anything. So I just wanted to add that.
Okay. So it's our responsibility in the end of the day.
100%. Everything is our responsibility. The outside world, I think you said it earlier, is just a mirror. It's just a reflection. So when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. I think it was Wayne Dyer who said that.
Okay. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
I
Thank
hope
you so
one
much
day.
for having